Yo, what up, people? It's your boy ChillCapo. I'm making this video because apparently I still got beef with the Colombian government. I don't know why. I've been gone for 4 months, but yet they're still posting me, posting my image, saying my name in captions. And I guess I have to make this video to put some truth out there on the internet. Once again, if you didn't already watch, let's talk about it. The link is in my bio right now. But let's talk about what's currently going on in Medellin and Colombia in general, and the travel space for single travelers, and why Colombia is trying to tell you they don't want you to come into their country. I'm gonna give my personal reasons why I think this is all happening and what are the long-term effects, both negative and positively, going to be for Colombia and single male travelers that are looking to travel overseas and have a nice vacation. Let's talk about it. So for those of you guys that know, a recent travel influencer was deported. I'm not gonna say he was deported. He was denied entry into Colombia recently this week. I spoke to the brother, good guy, all the best intentions, and I think he was wrongfully targeted the same way that I was, simply for his crime of being an entrepreneur in Colombia. Now, I do believe that Colombia is very welcoming overall, but in the last year or so, their tone has definitely shifted, and the people that they want to remove and send the message to has become painfully clear and obvious. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to go look at the Migration Colombia page and see who they are removing from the country or denying entry into the country to begin with. Now, I'm not gonna say it's 100%, but if there's smoke, there's fire. And the smoke is obviously black. And let's figure out why this is happening. I'm going to give my opinions on the subject. You let me know what you guys think. So to understand what's happening, you just have to listen and pay attention. And the number one thing that you're always going to hear on these posts is the same keywords: sex tourism, sex tourism, sex tourism. I don't think that's the full picture, and I don't think that's all it's simply about. Yes, Colombia has drugs, prostitution, maybe the most sex workers than any other country in the world, and many locals and Colombians earn their money from this industry every day. I don't think that's the problem. None of that is new or controversial. Anybody who's traveled to Colombia has been exposed to this and knows what I'm saying is true. I believe the issue is a much bigger issue, a deeper issue that most people don't want to discuss in Colombia. I think the perception is what's doing the damage. It's simply how we are viewed as black travelers. In my view, there's a perception among some Colombians that foreigners are coming into the country simply to exploit them, to profit from their culture, to profit from their women or their local economy. This is often tied to a broader sentiment that Americans are already privileged and are now leveraging that privilege abroad in ways that feel gentrified, which is why you're going to hear that word a lot when you hear Colombians complain about gringos and tourists entering their city. They often use this word gentrification. I'm not saying that this applies to all Colombians. It clearly doesn't, but I do think that sentiments exist, and it can influence how foreigners are perceived in some cases, and it creates resentment, it creates suspicion around the idea of outsiders are taking from the country rather than contributing to it. And that obviously is a real sentiment across many of these news media publications and also influencers that speak out against gringos, aka tourists. I also believe this perception overlaps how immigration authorities may view Americans. When people publicly show themselves organizing events, promoting nightlife, or building businesses in Colombia, it can create scrutiny, regardless of the intent or legality. At that point, perception often becomes just as important as the reality. If immigration believes you are working, earning income, or operating events with or without proper authorization, that alone is going to trigger action by the government to investigate further. So my message is to all you nightlife promoters, influencers, travel bloggers: be careful what you're doing with your social media and be very aware of how it's going to be perceived when you enter Colombia. Public content can still be interpreted as evidence of unauthorized work, especially when it comes to consistently showing perceived income being generated. And after all, nobody works for free in Colombia, and they're assuming you don't either. Because of that, my advice today is different from what I would have gave you a few years ago. If you are living in Colombia and hosting events, nightlife activities, or organized social experiences, make sure your immigration status clearly shows that you're allowed to do so. If it does not, your activities are publicly visible. You should not assume that it will go unnoticed and expect consequences for those things.